The Atlantic Horizon was the pride of the Atlantic Cruise Line, a ship so enormous and luxurious that it seemed more like a floating city than a vessel. Its decks gleamed under the early morning sun, and polished wooden floors reflected the light, making the ship shimmer like a jewel on the water. Families crowded the docks, waving at loved ones, their voices mixing with the cries of seagulls and the gentle lapping of waves. Children ran along the decks, their laughter echoing over the water, while parents clutched cameras, determined to capture every precious moment of this journey. Couples strolled hand in hand, faces glowing with anticipation, dreaming of the adventures awaiting them across the Atlantic. Captain Edward Johnson, a tall, imposing man with silver hair and eyes that had seen countless storms, stood on the bridge. He surveyed the bustling decks, the eager passengers, and the efficient crew. His voice carried over the loudspeakers with authority and calm. "Welcome aboard the Atlantic Horizon. You are about to embark on a journey you will never forget. Enjoy yourselves, and may the seas be kind." A thunderous cheer erupted from the passengers. The engines roared, vibrating through the decks as the ship slowly pulled away from New York Harbor, slicing through the sparkling Atlantic waters with graceful power. The first day passed like a dream. Children splashed in the pools. Couples enjoyed romantic dinners on the upper decks. Families explored the theaters, lounges, and observation areas, marveling at the endless ocean stretched before them. Crew members moved quickly and efficiently, making sure every passenger was comfortable, every corner polished, every service running smoothly. As night fell, however, a subtle change occurred. The air, once warm and inviting, turned colder. A fine mist began to curl across the decks, wrapping around railings like ghostly fingers. Some passengers shivered, instinctively clutching their jackets closer. A few crew members exchanged uneasy glances. Something felt wrong. By the second night, the first signs of something supernatural began to manifest. The ship's radio emitted strange, untraceable signals, low-frequency hums that sounded almost like whispers. Lieutenant Harris, a young officer stationed in the communication room, leaned closer to the receiver, his brow furrowed. "Sir, we're getting a signal, but no one is transmitting. It almost sounds like voices," he said, his voice trembling. Captain Johnson's frown deepened. The technicians tried to trace the source of the signal. It moved erratically across the ship's circuits, appearing and disappearing without warning. A faint echo lingered in the corridors, a hum so subtle it made the hair on the back of the neck stand on end. By midnight, the first real disappearance occurred. Emily, a young woman traveling with her roommate, vanished from her cabin. Her roommate screamed, banging on the door, but it was locked from the inside. Crew members rushed to investigate, but Emily was gone. Panic began to spread. Shadows flickered across walls. Strange footsteps echoed in hallways where no one was walking. A young boy tugged at his father's sleeve, whispering, "Daddy, someone's watching me." Crew members tried to calm the passengers, but unease had already settled, like a heavy fog across the decks. Then, other strange events followed. Lights flickered intermittently. Doors slammed shut without warning. Cold drafts swept through corridors. Passengers reported glimpses of shadowy figures moving along the hallways. Some claimed to hear whispers calling their names. Suddenly, a violent storm erupted. Winds shrieked across the decks, and enormous waves pounded the hull. Lightning illuminated terrified faces. The Atlantic Horizon lurched violently. Captain Johnson shouted over the roar, "Secure all passengers. Stay in your cabins. Remain calm." But the storm seemed to have a mind of its own. It tossed passengers and crew alike, making even the strongest hold on the ship's railings nearly impossible. Screams of terror mixed with the roaring wind and crashing water, creating a symphony of chaos. Shadowy figures became more visible, floating silently across the decks. Their eyes glowed an unholy green, and whenever someone approached, they vanished. Families huddled together in fear. Some passengers prayed desperately. Others attempted to reach the lifeboats, but each attempt failed. Communication with the mainland was lost. The Atlantic horizon was trapped, drifting endlessly across the stormy Atlantic. Whispers echoed through the corridors. "Leave this ship. Leave." The ship seemed alive, as if feeding on the fear of its passengers. Shadows crept along walls and railings, moving independently. More passengers vanished without a trace. Crew members were powerless to maintain order. Captain Johnson wrote desperately in his log, "I cannot see them anymore. What have we unleashed?" Moments later,